All right, today we're going on a hunt, but this isn't just any hunt. We're tracking an enemy that's completely invisible. We're talking about an ancient plague that quietly infects hundreds of millions of people, and its devastating effects often don't show up for years. This is the story of Filariasis. Just take a second to look at this number. That's not a typo. 893 million people in 49 different countries, all living under the threat of this disease. It's a massive, massive global health challenge, and it's happening almost entirely in the shadows. So you're probably wondering, what is this hidden threat? Well, it's not what you might think. It's not a virus, it's not some kind of bacteria. Nope. The real culprit here is a microscopic parasite, a worm that has basically perfected the art of hiding inside the human body, and it has an incredibly clever playbook for how it survives and spreads.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What exactly are we up against? See, filariasis isn't just one single illness. It's more like a whole family of diseases, and they're all caused by these teeny tiny thread-like worms. The way they get around? They're smart. They basically hitchhike, catching a ride inside blood-feeding insects. You know, things like mosquitoes and flies.
So these worms, they find a place to live inside our bodies. They set up camp in our lymphatic system. You can think of that as your body's internal drainage network. Or sometimes they'll just hang out right under the skin. And here's where it gets really wild. Instead of laying eggs, the adult females release thousands of live, microscopic baby worms called microfilaria directly into your body. All right, so how on earth does this tiny invader pull all this off? You know what they say? To beat your enemy, you've got to know their playbook. And let me tell you, this parasite's life cycle is a straight-up masterclass in survival. It's this whole complex journey that absolutely needs two different hosts to work. It's got to have both.
Okay, check this out. It all starts with a single mosquito bite. That mosquito injects these tiny larvae right under your skin. From there, those larvae go on a little trip, making their way into your lymphatic system where they grow up into adult worms. And get this, these adults can live inside of you for years. Then, the adult females get to work, releasing millions of new microfilaria into your bloodstream, just waiting for another mosquito to come along, take a bite, and start the whole cycle all over again.
And this next part, this is where the parasite strategy goes from just clever to downright genius. See, the microfilaria don't just drift around randomly, hoping for the best. No way. They operate on a strict schedule. It's a phenomenon called periodicity. This means they swarm into the blood vessels right near the surface of your skin at the exact time of day their mosquito taxi is out looking for a meal. It's an absolutely stunning evolutionary tactic. And this right here just lays it all out perfectly. Take the worm that causes lymphatic filariasis. It releases its larvae into the blood at night because that's prime time for its ride, the Culex mosquito. But then you've got the Loa Loa worm. That's the one that causes African eyeworm. It does the complete opposite. It floods the blood during the middle of the day to meet up with its vector, the daytime biting deer fly. It is a perfectly synchronized attack. So the attack plan looks really different depending on which species of worm is involved. Because remember, filariasis isn't a single disease. It shows up in three main forms, and each one targets a completely different part of the body. This table kind of breaks it down for us. First up, you've got Wucheria bancrofti, carried by mosquitoes, and that leads to lymphatic filariasis, which can cause that severe swelling people call elephantiasis. Then there's Loa Loa, the African eyeworm, which is transmitted by deer flies. And finally, Onchocerca volvulus, spread by black flies, which, just tragically, can lead to river blindness. Now, of those three, lymphatic filariasis is by far the most common. We're talking 90% of all cases. What happens here is the adult worms live in the lymphatic vessels, and over many years, they cause damage and blockages. The analogy of clogged drain pipes is perfect. It's like your body's plumbing gets completely backed up, leading to this massive, painful, and very disfiguring buildup of fluid, especially in the limbs.
Okay, so how in the world do you find an enemy that hides so well? An invader whose offspring literally only appear under the cover of darkness? Well, our counterintelligence has to be just as clever as the parasite itself. The classic method is looking at a blood smear under a microscope. But for some of these, you have to actually draw the blood at night just to catch the microfilaria. Luckily, we now have much better tools. We've got rapid antigen tests that work any time of day, plus highly sensitive PCR tests, and even ultrasound imaging. And that last tool, ultrasound, it can reveal something absolutely astonishing. This quote here refers to what doctors call the filarial dance sign. On the screen, you can literally see the live adult worms twisting and moving around inside the body. For a patient, it's this deeply unsettling moment where the invisible enemy suddenly becomes shockingly, horribly visible.
So, we know the enemy, and we know how to find it. Now for the final chapter, the global fight to eliminate this ancient plague for good.
The strategy we use has a few different angles. We have effective anti-parasitic drugs, like one called diethylcarbamazine, or DEC, that kill both the adult worms and their larvae. But the core strategy, the one recommended by the World Health Organization, is mass drug administration. This means treating entire at-risk communities all at once to break the chain of transmission, and you combine that with mosquito control. But here's a fascinating twist in the treatment strategy, a real aha moment. Scientists discovered that the filarial worms actually depend on a symbiotic bacteria called Wolbachia to survive. So a secret weapon in our arsenal is an antibiotic, doxycycline. It doesn't kill the worm directly. It kills the bacteria inside the worm, which in turn causes the worm to die. It's a brilliant indirect attack. And this chart just drives home where the fight is most concentrated. Southeast Asia is carrying about half of the global burden. And look at India. India alone accounts for a staggering 40% of all cases worldwide. The success of any global elimination effort really hinges on making progress in these key regions.
So here's the bottom line. The tools are in our hands. The strategy is clear. Yeah, the challenge is still immense, but for the first time in history, this ancient enemy is no longer invisible. The fight against filariasis proves that with global cooperation and clever science, we really can defeat the plagues of the past. The only question left is, will we?